Yes. You could have a mediator, a neutral third party. In the Ambani's case, as somebody highlighted, you had the ICICI head who mediated and ensured that the division is acceptable to both, and the post division also, how things are going to shape up in the next couple of years. So you had a mediator there, and that the mediator was identified by Kokla Ben, who was wife of Dhirubhai Ambani. Right? You could have arbitration where both the parties feel that yes, we are not capable, so we go to the law, and whatever the law suggests, we are going to we are going to accept that. So you have or you could have a conciliator, you could have a consultant, because it's a serious affair, because you are looking at the implementation of various agendas and things discussed. At times the state government, the national government, or maybe a third party acts as a consultant or a conciliator. This was a slide which I thought I would. Now the significant question here is, when you're talking about, we looked at competition, we looked at collaboration, we looked at compromising, we looked at avoidance, right? We looked at various strategies. Now the question is, can you always collaborate? Can you always avoid competition? Do you ever need to look at avoidance as a strategy? Or there are situations where you could use many of these strategies for conflict resolution. So the idea here is, when do you compete? Yeah, when when I was trying to find out about when is a situation when both parties should compete, and the same is when quick decisive action is vital on important issues. Right? So you are launching a biscuit which has a certain flavor, and you want to win over the market, and even though that probably by collaborating things would be, there's a win-win situation, but you want to have your say, you might compete. Where unpopular actions need implementing, cost cutting, for example, a layoff, that can be taken, it's an unpopular action on vital issues for the organization's welfare. When you know you are right, now that's a very subjective statement that somebody said while asking, when should you be compete? The person said, when you know you are right, and against people who take advantage of non-competitive behavior. Yeah, Monica, your statement was significant. I've been seeing that you've been kind of sharing a lot of other things, and later on you might say that I have not understood what was being discussed. Yeah, can we all concentrate to the winding up of this conflict session? Are you all able to see the slide? No, it's other way around, Yogesh. It's not competing leading to taking unpopular action. You take an unpopular action when you're competing. So for resource mobilization, if you're taking up, let's say, some layoff, or maybe some kind of a decision which is not highly acceptable. For example, again, I'll take the recent, Prime Minister's action. You might think as a competitive, and the opposition might think that yes, he is not accepting and he is not listening to us, but that was an important decisive action on an unpopular decision. Is that clear? It was an unpopular decision, but a decisive one. It might appear to be competing with other parties, but yes. Yeah, both the Ambani brothers, they wanted to have their own resource base, and they immediately wanted to make sure that things are more clear, and they started competing with each other. When you take cost cutting strategies, Yogesh, when you take up cost cutting strategies, Yeah, Yogesh? Still not able to listen? Now the next slide, this particular slide talks about again, when should you be taking up when should you be taking up a collaborative step? When should people who are in a conflicting situation collaborate to find an integrative solution when both sets of concerns are too important to be compromised? When your objective is to learn, to merge insights from people with different perspectives, to gain commitment. So a lot of joint ventures, alliances, mergers, is an outcome of collaborative, the thought of collaboration. And each one, it's actually maximizing on the strengths you have and minimizing on the weaknesses each organization or person would have. When should you be avoiding? Yeah, Rakesh, I'll come back to your question. Let me just complete this. Yeah, so when should you be avoiding? When the issue is trivial or more important issues are pressing. When you perceive no chance of satisfying your concerns. When potential disruption outweighs the benefits of resolution. To let people cool down and regain perspective. When gathering information supersedes immediate decision. When others can resolve the conflict effectively, in the sense, not the conflicting parties, but others. When issues seem tangential or symptomatic of other issues, right? The issue might not be as what is visible. There could be something else which is at the core. So you could avoid, take an avoidance strategy. Accommodation. Yes, Sushmita, I'll do that. Let me finish this topic first. When do you accommodate? When you find you are wrong and allow a better position to be settled down. Position to be heard or maybe settled down. To learn and to show your reasonableness. When issues are more important to others than to yourself and to satisfy others and maintain cooperation. To build social credits for later issues. Social credits, you might think, what is that being talked about? To minimize loss when outmatched and losing. When harmony and stability are especially important. To allow employees to develop by learning from mistakes. Can you just elaborate on the fourth point, to build social credits for later issues? Can anybody elaborate on that? Is that significant? Yes, step back now to use gains later. True, very true. And then there is a social approval, as you being an excellent collaborator, somebody who gives in and, for the time being and probably gain from that later on. Also, when harmony and stability are very, very important. Last but not the least, strategy is compromise, which we now and then use. Compromising is a strategy where that if you have to gain, there has to be some. If you have to, there has to be some understanding between the two parties, and it has to go on. The relationship has to continue here, right? So one has to give as well as take. So without giving, there is no taking, and without a compromise, there is no other alternative. Or the parties involved are not going to benefit from that, right? So when goals are important but not worth the effort of potential disruption of more assertive approaches, when opponents with equal power are committed to mutually exclusive goals, to achieve temporary settlements to complex issues, to arrive at expedient solutions under time pressure, and as a backup when collaboration or competition is unsuccessful. Probably you had your other parties coming and saying that yes, we will support the government, because probably none of them are going to prepared for the elections. Verdict of the people will not be very clear. Hence, a compromising situation is the best alternative situation that the parties could work out for their survival. I hope why I put up this particular slide was to make sure that after having understood all that, you can't always be avoiding taking up on the avoidance strategy, or you can't always take up the collaborative strategy. There are times when you have to use lot to make sure that you are a good negotiator, or you have different techniques. As you have various leadership styles, you also have conflict resolution styles depending upon the issue and as an issue, as well as you also trying to understand what works best in a given situation. Yeah, the last point which I said was as a backup when collaboration or competition is unsuccessful, which means you tried to collaborate, you tried to compete, it's not working out, then you think of a compromise. You look at the pilots strike. Now after having compromised, now they said we are going to allow FDI in aviation. You asking me that question, Alok? I think they collaborated, they compromised, and now they are kind of avoiding each other. Yeah. I think they tried to collaborate. They tried to compromise. How? No, there are no social credits. No way. I think somewhere both of them were not working towards the same cause, and there were underlying intentions among the people. So when conflict was let's say provoked by media at large, or maybe by other people, it surfaced. Yeah. True, Alok. Yeah. Yeah, the other guy always had the political intent. Yeah. This particular slide talks about stimulating conflict. So you would ask me a question that, ma'am, after having discussed about topic and after having tried to resolve conflict, why are you saying stimulate conflict? Isn't that a natural question that comes along? Fine. Stimulating conflict, as I said, is as Tata Group says, dissent is the voice of a progress. There has to be, I feel that there has to be some disagreeing views, some differing opinions, some kind of incompatibility will always exist. So how does an organization encash that? You can't have all yes men around. It's not good for the organization. So there are going to be differences. How do you maximize from those differences, right? So using nominal group processes where groups come across and present their suggestions, encouraging individualistic thinking, increase individual competition, providing threatening information at times. Yes, will be wiped out if we don't sell well, if we don't add in this feature. There's a market share which you could use as a parameter. There is a Sensex which you could use as a parameter. Creating role conflict, changing organizational structure, job rotation, new channels of communication, and at times inducting new candidates into their team, into departments, into organizations. You bring in that yes men approach and bring in some area of creativity. Is that clear? Any point that needs explanation here? Yeah, what is that point? I'll explain that point. Yeah, what is that point, Parul? Which point are you referring to? I just eliminated that slide now. Okay, role conflict. Yeah, what is your? Now, how would you define a role? How will, if not define, how would you describe a role? The role of an HR person, role of a marketing person, role of a salesperson. So adding some more dimensions to that role, one might see conflicting situation in the individual, whether I should be doing this or whether I should not be doing this, right? Whether I should be sharing this information with the other department, whether I should be sharing this information with the other party. Is it right? Not just right, is it my duty to do that? Yeah, basically when you talk about threatening information, you're talking about uh, disturbing a person from a comfortable zone and a complacent position, right? So you will question whether whatever I'm doing is right, and does new thought process need to be initiated in that direction, right? So there is basically when we're talking about stimulating conflict, what I'm trying to tell you here is instilling some amount of creativity in whatever you're doing. Is that clear? So you look at things, your work task, your job description, your roles, all in a newer perspective, rather than being in a status quo. Is that clear? Are you all there? Probably we'll touch upon the last chapter of the chapter of control, which talks about, so we have touched upon, if you look at from the first class, if you see from the first class, we discussed about the managerial functions. Management is a science or theory. We moved on to environment, we moved on to CSR and ethics. From there, the planning premises, MBO, decision making, organizing, power and authority, staffing, leadership, conflict and negotiation, and we'll touch upon the last topic of controlling. So as I said, planning without control is incomplete. Planning without the checks, where do I check whether whatever I have planned is going on the right way? Whether it's identification of a new geographic location. Yeah, Shikhar, you are raising a question? Are you raising a question? Okay, what is your question? What is threatening information? No. Could just frame it? I'm not able to understand because I'm just seeing the word threatening. Okay, what is threatening information? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, something which will disturb the state, the current position of an individual. product is not doing well, it has lost a market share by this much, you will be transferred to a certain position, to a certain place if you don't do well. So looking at your job more creatively, so that the negative impact of your current display of exhibited behaviors gets changed. Create, you're talking about, Alok, you're talking about create. So there is a creativity part there. Alok, you have raised a question, is it to create a sense of fear? Yes, there is a creation there. So what happens when fear is instilled? Can you elaborate? Yeah, what happens when fear is instilled? Can anybody elaborate that? What happens when sense of fear is instilled? Why sense of fear is instilled? Have you seen when you're in a normal way of working, something or the other events happen and some organizations sense it and it communicates it to the people. So they're conscious, they're alert. So that creativity is not lost. Yeah. So by doing all that, you are kind of redirecting and bringing in that new scope of thinking, looking at certain things from a fresh perspective, empathizing from where the directives are coming, the instructions are coming. Yeah. Yes, very true. Yeah. 212 degree. What is that? What is that, Alok? Yeah, bringing in some kind of statistics. See, now and then when you see the the growth projections by the government of India, whether it is 6%, whether it is 5.5%, whether it is, do you think does it make sense to any one of us? Or maybe the planners? Does those comparisons, those statistics, those figures bring in any kind of meaning to any one of us? Or maybe the planners, maybe the entrepreneurs, the export figures, the GDP figures, the per capita income. What are those all? At times there is comparison, there is reference. No, because I completely, I don't disagree to that fact. Fear and creativity are counter to each other. No, fear does not bring in, what fear brings in is, relooking at your things, the way you are conducting yourself. Yeah. Okay, can I go back to this topic now? I'm sure a lot of deliberations have been done on significant topics today. Now, when you go back to office tomorrow, you would, uh, look at your work from a fresh and a newer perspective. And that's what should be the ideal takeaway from the class. Becoming more alert and aware to your environment. Because when you grow up in the higher echelons, I'm sure you'll be taking decisions, you'll be leading teams, and you'll be using a lot of these styles and techniques to increase your effectiveness from a certain position. Now, what is the 212 degree you would, can you just explain that 212 degree from your director's perspective? Yeah, Alok. Okay, oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. It can be stressful, but it's actually not to bring in that amount of stress, but to make you more alert. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm talking about the last topic. It's almost 12:50 now. We just have 10 minutes to wind up. We'll be, using ref supervision. We are looking at various checks. EFL break is actually an example of a company. Yeah. So basically, effective controls talks about establishing right standards, being realistic and flexible because if there are extraneous and intraneous factors which could act as roadblocks, then you need to intervene and correct those planned premises. Preventive and cost effective, clarity of responsibility for delivery, that is who is going to achieve what, who will be held responsible for achieving those various operational and tactical plans. Of course, the times of delivery, times of fulfillment, times of achievement needs to be clearly aligned with. It has to be forward looking. There is lot to be a lot of accomplishments that has to be highlighted. It has to be based on facts, inspiring and motivating for people. It brings in a sense of focus, ensure consistency in organizational activities, enables organizational effectiveness and efficiency, provide feedback on project status, aids in decision making, maintains discipline because you know whether you are on the right track or not, input for future planning. And the processes are establishment, measuring performance, comparing performance against standards, developing a report. So many of you would have heard of total quality management, you would have heard of Six Sigma, eliminating wastage, safety, accidents, attrition rate, what is the benchmark you are trying to compare with, what is that you would like to have within your organization, what is alarming, what is right, taking corrective actions for removing significant deviations, correcting deviations, redefining standards. So you have various kinds of control on the basis of managerial level. You have strategic control, you have managerial control, you have operational control. On the basis of the stage of time of implementation, you have feed forward control, you have concurrent control, feedback control, budgetary control, financial control, quality control, inventory control and operational control. And each of you who are part of various processes, which is relevant to your own functions, right, and in which all industries. Now, budget is a huge systemic and process control where when you are exceeding budgets and what is appropriate, what can be acceptable, what has been visualized, what has been provisioned. Are you within that or are you exceeding all that? And if you're exceeding, is it worth the cost that is being implemented, right? Financial statements, financial ratio analysis. I'm sure you would have so many of. Recently, the RBI governor was saying that the CRR ratio needs to be there. It should not be there. So there was a lot of deliberations on the CRAR of banks. Yeah, so there are all standards and benchmarks and a lot of deliberations. If you keep for example, the NPS of the banks, what is ideal, what is not ideal, which banks have to maintain how much, all that is something which individually banks work out. And today RBI has given a lot of freedom for individual banks to work out their own strategies to survive and excel in this competitive environment. Right, so what all services, what all ratios these banks would be using, which does not compromise on their their approach towards customers, as well as still maintain with the credibility and the financial, because financials are very important, very important. measures by which and it acts as an excellent control mechanism. Then there are special studies and analysis, there are industry reports, there are internal and external audits. I am sure you are all part of these when you are working in an organization. There are human resource specific strategies which performance appraisal or maybe the average head cost, average head, business per employee, profit per employee, all these are calculated in various organizations. Yeah, hello, please raise that question. Yeah, please carry on with your question fast so that we don't miss out on anything. Okay, how do you deal with conflict? Can we just take up that once we through the chapter? Yeah, give me some time. You came across the word human resource ratio. It's basically about ratios like absenteeism, employee turnover, um, very significant in people intensive service sectors like IT and BPO. You also came across the word management by exception, which talks about deviations that are of serious nature and have gone beyond permissible limits that need to be brought to the manager's notice by the subordinates. So the essence of the technique is that all routine matters are handled by the subordinates themselves, whereas the managers concentrate on non-routine or exceptional issues, right? The critical point control is like if the manager's job is complex and involves a number of activities, then it may not be possible for the manager to control each and every activity. So they need to be concentrating upon those activities which are critical. So such type of control is critical point control, and it includes careful analysis of each and every activity to determine critical activities where the managerial control might be warranted. Yeah, Alok, I had, okay. Kanban 2. So what is Kanban actually? Can you just give one line? Kanban. Anybody? ABC analysis, economic order quantity. These are terms which you I'm sure would have studied in a lot of in other subjects. Yeah. What went wrong? Very true. What went wrong and how? Why? So the whole analysis is about what went wrong and why things how can you overcome that? Why things went wrong. So there's a constant analysis, so which acts as a control mechanism. Then you have operational control techniques like productivity, where efficiency, effectiveness is constantly checked. Then you have the lean manufacturing process, where it's a philosophy of eliminating structures with a very lean organization structure by which the lot of hierarchies were brought in together. Yeah, so individually at your own departmental or functional level, you know what kind of control mechanisms are used. So there is the success of planning is based on complete control mechanisms that requires that are there in terms of analysis, in terms of comparison, in terms of standards, in terms of maintaining a benchmark. Yeah, Alok, now I would like to take up your question, because we are almost winding up now. Aha, Alok, that's, you are provoking a question which had it been there, we wouldn't have seen the sorry state of affairs in many of the government organizations. But if you look at what I would say is that the kind of studies and surveys they conduct and the suggestions they invite, they are the best in class and they have in place. But yes, accountability is low. In terms of investment, in terms of, yeah, very true. So obviously, at an individual level, people cannot deliver, but at an organization level, when top is committed, that commitment can be brought down. Yeah, true. So I would say that had it been there in place. Yeah. Can you tell me your question, Alok? What was that your question? Performance appraisal. You had asked me a question like, what is conflict during performance appraisal? Why do you think conflict happens? Discussions during review and discussions? No, is it during review and discussions? Then when does that conflict? You're talking when you're saying conflict is stage 1, it's stage 2, it's stage 3. Is it at the felt level? Which level are you talking at? Are you, the intent is to resolve or avoid at the last level? Okay. No. I am talking the stages of conflict. Is it at the felt level, the latent level, or at the intent level? See, I said there are stages of conflict at the latent level, at the felt level, where the conflict manifests, where you personalize and get emotional about a topic. So you have to look at the intent. Are you competing with your manager? Do you want to compete with him and prove him wrong? Or work on his suggestions and see if things work out? Yeah, look, you have to see what, whatever suggestions are coming from. Okay, then when you know that the other party, if you're concerned about the other party's stake in your growth, then probably you'll have to accommodate. If his impact is significant on your growth, on your appraisals, I'm sure you will have to take an accommodating step or maybe a compromising strategy. See, I discussed some of the places when you should be taking up an accommodative strategy and when you should taking up a compromising strategy. So if you could just go to those singular points and place yourself somewhere in those points, I'm sure something will evolve in terms of how you should be coping up with it. Yeah. How organizations should practice ethical values in order to avoid negative press from media. Ethics again. See, one thing what I would say at an individual level, at individual level, one thing that should be very clear is that information is something which is clearly available to all, right? And when you when you move up in the echelon to higher levels in management, you are under the scanner, right? If one is alert about it, then whatever you do, you'll be slightly conscious, and when that consciousness comes in the individual, you would also know that whatever decisions you take would come under under the public domain at some point of time, if not immediately. I'm not saying that everything can be transparent, everything can be put in the public domain, and there are things which cannot be concealed also for a longer period of time, right? So I would always say that awareness and consciousness towards what you're doing is very, very significant. So what happens is, when people get in powerful positions, they feel that I'm not questionable, I'm not accountable, and I can twist and take people for granted and do whatever I feel is right. And if you look at all those positions up there, whether it was Ratan Tata, whether it was Rajat Gupta, whether if you look at the whole host of ministers out there who has been there in power, or if you look at the IMF head who got into a very different form of scandal and lost his job, right? So all were under different scanners, and their positions and power were under question. And not that they did not know that ethics did not exist, it's just that when power came to you, how did you use it? Yeah, so thank you for being a nice audience, and I think we'll end the class here right now. Yeah, yes, Yogesh, all that would come under there. Yeah. No, for exams, I think you will all be taking up offline or online. I think majority of you would be like taking up online questions. So what I would suggest you is completely be prepared with your text that has been given to you. And I'm sure with all that we have discussed, your concepts would have been clear. So you will have an MCQ questions where you will be able to choose the right one if your fundamentals are clear. And as far as offline is concerned, you have a lot of questions at the end. You have my email ID. If you want some specific help in terms of which chapters to refer to a certain question, or which pages to refer, or maybe which subheads to refer, I'm always there for your help. Thank you, Ashish.